So it's something.
So I'll call the meeting to order. I'll call the meeting to order. Can we establish a quorum?
We can. Chair Crane,
Present.
Vice Chair Wheeler,
Present.
Commissioner Carter,
Here.
Commissioner Bedard,
Here.
Commissioner Fawcett,
Here.
and Commissioner G.
Here.
We have a quorum of 6.
Thank you. And can you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I will. Your flag is right here in front of you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any public comments on items not on the agenda? Do we have any members of the public? Any members of the public?
We do not have any members of the public signed into the meeting at this time.
All right. All right, we'll move on to items for consideration. First, the minutes. Are there any corrections, additions, or changes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of March 2nd, 2023.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And can we call for the vote?
You can.
Chair Crane, Vice Chair Wheeler, Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Bedard,
Yes.
Commissioner Fawcett, and Commissioner G. We have that unanimous.
Thank you. And moving on to the next item for consideration is the the special meeting. It says discuss March 16th special meeting. That was the meeting that was, had to be delayed because there was no power. And so we are looking for another date. So please get out your calendars because I would definitely like to decide on a date. We had talked about, Mary Jo, which dates? The next 2 Thursdays? No. Yes, the 13th or the 20th.
April.
We talked about,
Mine, right, May, no, really?
11th or May 18th,
Okay,
I believe were the dates that we talked about.
okay. I think we would like to see if we can do them over the next 2 weeks. And I think that's in part because NCLA is meeting, I believe, on the 24th. Is that correct? Yes, Lisa.
So I'm not in town next week, so I would not be able to attend in person. And on the 20th, I have a council meeting that starts at 6, but I'm happy to attend any time on the 20th other than that.
I'm out of town on the 20th. April, which is a Thursday.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Carol, you said
Okay.
13th or the 20th?
Yeah.
Okay. Here,
Yeah, sure, if I'm needed.
Have a meeting that starts at 6 on the
on the 13th. No,
I would prefer the 20th.
okay. I'd ask anybody else? Mayor?
I'm sorry, I'm preoccupied by something that's going on out here that I actually reported, so that's why I'm.
No worries. No
So,
worries.
You're asking me about dates.
Dates, 13th or the 20th?
I can't do the 13th.
Okay.
And I could do the 20th, assuming it's sort of an early evening or late afternoon. Yes.
Okay, anybody else? Cindy? Lane, anybody else?
Both dates work for me.
Sounds like the 20th is, better.
It sounds early, like we were gonna do
Yeah.
2:30 to 4:30.
3:30 to 4:30. Or, yeah. I'm gonna, yeah. Do you think I should go check on something?
No, I've already reported.
Oh.
So it looks like we have consensus for the 20th from 2:30 to 4:30. We'd love as many people as can be there to be there, to be here. And so just a reminder, the purpose of the meeting is just to get everybody together to sort of talk about what our plans are for this year. And we'll have, hopefully, I need to confirm with them, a presentation from Nolan Tam on the future of libraries. And we will do something of a gallery walk where people can talk about the types of changes they would like to see. Right, and this is in follow on to some of the discussions at the NCLA meeting that I attended here. Okay.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna have to confirm. Base,
Okay.
I can do right now, but, For that May 20th, 2:30 to 4:30.
April.
I'm sorry, April, why do I keep saying April 20th?
April 20th, 2:30 to 4:30.
Let me just make sure. And so you're gonna double check.
I'm checking on space.
Okay, she's gonna check on space.
Yeah, we can be here.
Okay. All right, so with that, I'll invite the city councils of both cities, which is something that I did a little bit late last time, so I'll make sure that we send it out early, as well as all of our groups. So we'll be sending that out.
So this is at 2:30 to 4:30 on the 20th
Yes,
here.
yes. Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Okay. Thank you. So now we'll move to our community partner updates. So I am speaking loud just to make sure that everybody can hear. Lolly updates, and maybe we could do the NCL and, well, Lolly updates, I guess, from Cindy.
Right. So with Lolly, we meet next Tuesday, and we are exploring how to and when to use our funds for projects such as a library redevelopment, new services, and or other projects that may come to our attention. And we are putting together a form for funding requests that would be so that we can standardize the types of information that we're always asking for. And we'll most likely be presenting that draft form on Tuesday, just so that we always gather the same amount of information that to make it easier to evaluate and to make comments on it. We're also in the process of developing a strategic plan that connects up with the library strategic plan, which connects up to the county's strategic plan. And we're going to start discussing what we have right now. One of our new board members has taken this project on, and she is interviewing each of us and getting our ideas and pulling them pulling them and putting them together. And then we will, as a group, discuss and see what we want to add or what is missing or what we want to take off. And most likely we will be looking for additional board members. We had gotten down to a very bare bones number, and we were able to increase that mostly through the ads that we had placed in the town crier. And that gave us some people from Los Altos Hills, in addition to one person outside of our two cities lived in Mountain View. And everybody's been very actively contributing, but unfortunately we've had a few resignations due to health or moving out of the area that it doesn't make it possible for them to continue. So we want to get back up to a number that gives us a strong working group so that we can keep pushing forward with what we want to do. And those are the highlights for the last 2 months. Oh, I will say on the agenda, we are going to be getting another presentation from the library about the Los Altos main library patio concept. And then also the Library Commission is going to be giving a presentation on their concept for the Woodland Library outdoor space. And these are two of the types of projects that we would consider funding. And the more information we have about them, as everything starts to gel together, we'll have a better idea of how much things will cost and then what works best for going forward in the future. So that's another big topic on next week's agenda. So does anyone have any questions?
Yes. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but what legal, what justification does Wally have to make a determination on the projects? I mean, it's great you're doing criteria, but it's a question that came up with somebody asked me, is how exactly does, you know, at the end of the day, would Lolly be the voting organism in dispersing the funds, or would it have to be something, you know, through the city? I'm just asking. It's a thing that came up, and I'm not asking for an immediate answer, but it is.
Right. And so what you're asking is a very complex question, and it would be the first time that Lolly would be asked to spend some of its building fund capital. We have, as I've mentioned before, we have two pools of money. We have an operation budget, and then we have a building fund budget where we pulled out several, I think we have a little over $2 million in the building fund set aside for if and when the city and all the other interested parties wanted to either redevelop or build a new library. And several years ago, Lolly passed a motion that we would turn that money over to the city once a shovel went into the ground, so that we knew that it was actually going to be used for building and not get frittered away on anything else. And then any other kinds of projects could come out of our operation budget, because we have quite a bit set aside in that one too. We can move the monies out of operation into building, but we can't go in the opposite direction. And so we're not here to make decisions. We're here to listen to everybody's proposals and come to an agreement with all of the interested parties, which, you know, the main party is the city of Los Altos, because the city does own the property and the building, and nothing can go forward with any kind of external changes unless the city council, city mayor, and manager are in agreement with that. And then, of course, we want to be strong partners with the Library Commission, the Friends of the Library, and NCLAs, because I see all of our groups working together and coming to consensus agreement on what can be done. And of course, that includes Los Altos and hopefully also Los Altos Hills.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cindy, when is your meeting?
It's Tuesday at 4 o'clock. And Julie, I'm pretty sure I sent you the agenda last night.
Okay, I just have to look. Thank you.
And let me since I have the podium, Elaine, I did not send it to you. I sent it to Janet, but if you want to have it, I can forward it to you.
Wait, I'm muted. All right, Janet is fine. I'm
Okay.
getting ready to give over the reins to her, but you could send it to me also. If I'm,
All
okay,
right,
I can go also.
all right. And ours is still virtual. We won't have an in-person meeting until June.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, Friends of the Library.
The Friends actually have voted on our resolution. And I don't have the exact wording. I almost forgot to even report on it. But the Friends are happy to commit to make available $1 million to this project, should it get off the ground. And you know, we're concerned also that it should not be frittered away with pre-studies or whatever, but what our motion commits 5% upfront for prep work. And then the rest to come is when the project is a go. So if you're interested, I can send you a copy of that motion. Oh, I just have to find it somewhere on my computer. If you wanted to read it, but we unanimously approved the funds. As usual, we have a book sale coming up in May 5th, 6th, and 7th. This is our last book sale for our fiscal year. And our annual meeting comes up in June 25th. If you're all invited. We haven't got a location yet, but it's always the last Sunday in June. And that's where we change officers. I just thought I'd give you a little, we just got our third quarter report, and I was actually stunned by some of the numbers. Between our 3 types of sales of books for 3 quarters of the year, we have earned $150,000. So projecting, we earn $200,000 a year on selling books, selling donated books. It's really pretty incredible to me that it just keeps getting better and better. And just to keep the little interest thing going, as of 3 quarters of the year, we've made $43,000 on the sale of at our big sales, our 4 sales that are at the community center, $51,000 selling books in the library, and $56,000 selling books on Amazon online. So it just gives you a little breakdown. The bulk of the books are sold at our sales. The fewest number are sold online. But by the same token, the most valuable books are sold online. The books in the best condition are sold in the library, and all the rest are sold at the sales. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting tidbit to give you. We're actively moving ahead to purchase the pods for the library. I think a conservative estimate on when they will be delivered is around September. But we are purchasing them for the library this fiscal year. We're still actively pursuing our books for schools. I have to tell you this because it's my pet project. This year we've already, the first sale was $1,400, then $1,650. The third sale of the year, $2,600, was spent on teachers' books out of our Books for School funds. So the teachers pick out the books. The money comes from the Books for Schools funds, which is donated by donors to the Friends of the Library. We think it's a terrific win-win. And what else is there? Oh, and our cafe, you've probably noticed, is back in operation. It's striving. Um, we have a little bit of it's not manned at all. It's on the honor system, and there is a little there is what we think is one person who clears us out every once in a while, but we're dealing with it and trying to figure it out. We will keep adding products to the cafe as things get better and better, but we are offering coffee and pre-wrapped items. And I think that's it.
Any questions or comments?
No, just kudos for
Thank you.
$200,000 this year. Wow.
Well,
I'm-
the interesting thing is when we had only book sales, we were making about $80,000. We were averaging about $20,000 a book sale. But when COVID hit, we started moving to online sales because we couldn't have any sales, and it has just about doubled our take. So.
I was gonna ask you publish that information because I don't see it on the website. I mean, it's really good information about how much you're able to support the library.
Well, we do publish the annual report, and that shows that there's a big lead time on our newsletter, and I suppose we could show it on the website. Somebody's got to write it, that's all. Thank you.
And may I ask you to send us that resolution, the motion?
Yes,
resolution?
okay. Will
If
do.
you could. We can hopefully include it in the moment.
You can send it to me, Elaine.
Hmm?
You can send it to me, Mary Jo.
Oh, okay, Mary Jo.
All right, anything else? Thank you so much. And finally, NCLA update. Lisa, I don't know if that's going to be you or Cindy or.
I'm happy to do it unless Cindy has a real desire. I guess since I'm chair, it probably is my burden to bear, sort of thing. But Cindy, please jump in when you can help.
I wasn't at
So
the
we-
meeting. I was flying
Oh,
home.
I'm sorry, I meant Sally. Sally's burden can jump in.
Right.
She was at the meeting, sorry. So we held our, yes, poor Cindy tried to call in and was having some difficulties because she was in the wilds of Minnesota. Yes. We had our meeting on the 27th, and it was the first thing that came out of the meeting is that we've hired administrative support. So we'll be able to streamline some of the things going through the NCLA going forward. We realize that we have the wonderful burden of being able to figure out how to spend the money that the NCLA has been gathering. We had some discussion of that at the meeting, and we decided to go forward as a group and still consider and talk about that subject, not set off an ad hoc committee. So I think with the meeting that we have, the library meeting that you're holding, Julie, will be a great place for us to continue the discussion. Like I said, I think our biggest goal this year should be figuring out how to use that money for the best of the library patrons, and that it's a thing that we need to explore. Our next meeting will be on the 24th, and I believe it'll be in that room, and it'll be at 5:30. So maybe we'll see something there too. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments?
Only request is that I know that legally you have to publish the materials for the meeting prior to the meeting. If you could do that in a timely manner, that'd be great. Sometimes the NCLA data comes in very late.
Okay, is that Pierre who's speaking?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I would echo that. Something once, I think it's something that was fairly substantial came in. It wasn't published yet, so.
And that was Julie, right?
That was me, yeah.
Okay. You guys are all teeny tiny on my screen, so.
Yeah, it's not, Any other questions, comments? No, if not, then we'll move to commissions, subcommittees and oral reports. So first to the County Library District presentation.
I'll go first. So, good evening, everyone. Great to see you again. Just wanted to tell you about a few things going on in the district this month. April is, of course, Poetry Month, and we have lots of different events throughout the entire system. We have our County Poet Laureate, Shaka Campbell, who is going to be doing some online presentations and some in person as well. So please take advantage of those if you can. We also, of course, have a lot of poetry resources online and available within the library. So if you're looking to find some new poetry or reconnect with some old classics, please do so. We also have a spring concert series. There we go. Spring concert series this month. Lots of different events going on. Looks like we have the Bela here at Los Altos. Maybe Rose will touch on that later, but of course, this is an opportunity for our youngest patrons to practice their pre-reading skills. So they take part in songs and dancing and all that kind of fun stuff. We also have programs specifically for that age group to start encouraging their reading skills. So we have 1,000 books before 6. And we have a kinder readiness program as well. So 2 more examples of ways we're reaching that demographic. Earth Day is also in April, busy month. April 22nd, of course, lots more events all throughout the county. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here to National Library Week. There we go. So upcoming, just a couple more weeks here, so lots of different events related to celebrating the library and what we do and what we provide for the community. And I believe the bookmobile will be here, was it next Tuesday? So a little less than a week. They'll be here probably performing a story time as well. So please keep your eye out for that. Next, we have financial literacy programs. So you can see that first one there is for teens, but the rest of them, if you know a teen, of course, encourage them to view those programs online. But we also have lots of other financial related materials there, so please take advantage of that as well. And then finally, we have protect yourself from scammers. So I don't know if you're familiar with the term phishing with a PH, but at Saratoga and Cupertino Library, we have different speakers. I think we have a DA coming in one, and then we have Ghost Midian in another. So please keep an eye out for those 2 as well. And just a reminder that, there we go, our Overdrive app will be disappearing and Libby will be taking its place. So please use the Libby app. Might as well get used to it now, but it's a great little app, actually. It does a really nice job. That, if you have any questions, of course, your Los Altos and or Woodland librarian will be able to assist you. Finally, happy Easter, happy Passover. And we have a JPA meeting coming up on Thursday, April 27th. And that's all I have, and I'll take any questions if you have any.
No, I finally made the jump to Libby.
And what do you think?
I'm good.
All right. I'll take it.
I've been using it for years. I highly recommend it.
Very good. I was gonna ask, could the scammer meetings, we can certainly publicize them to our people, but could they come to Los Altos at some point?
So this was kind of a limited program that we're doing a little bit quickly, to be honest with you. So in the future, we'll definitely keep you in mind, and I'll talk to the programming manager, and we'll make sure that we try to keep you in mind for the next time.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of our people could use it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Before I start, since we're in person, I could share the wonderful calendar that our staff have created and our flyer about our story time with our mayor. So it's on April 19th.
Here's some of the possible books. I've just picked them up at the library. I have to read them
She's
first.
prepared.
I'm getting prepared, yeah.
Waiting for wings. That's okay.
Wasn't going fast enough.
That's okay. So I wanted to welcome Allison. She's our newest librarian. she was working at Cupertino. She came to work at our library and was hired permanently as one of our newest children's librarians. So we're very excited. If you see her in the library, she's a children's librarian. So she'll be here. She works at Los Altos and at Woodland. Let's see. I'll kind of skim through the data here, but overall, we are returning to pre-pandemic levels. You'll see February is a little lower because it was a shorter month and we had a holiday. But overall, just which I didn't put on here, the gate count, we are at 60% of our gate count from pre-pandemic levels. So we are going back. The interesting part, if you go to the patrons served online, that is staying steady, remaining steady, because, you know, I think people got used to using our online services during the pandemic and just continue, you know, to enjoy them. And there are a lot of good stuff we have online that they can access without having to come into the library. Let's see, you can keep going, sorry. Some photos, this is the family fun day. This is getting over 200 people. On the left, you'll see the cute little kids. It's the Get Ready for Kindergarten series that we have. It's been very successful. You'll see the parents weren't in the room. It's really trying to prepare them to get ready to go to school without their parents. And it's been very engaging and we continue to have it. Some upcoming programs. Tonight, actually, we have a holistic yoga. We have a Hunters of the Savannah and early May gardening for native bees for adult and teen. Children, we are going to have a Harker's robotics demo. Another Get Ready for Kindergarten, and skipping to that spring concert. It will be on April 30th here at Los Altos. Here's just a flyer. We do have a really nice page on our website for Get Ready for Kindergarten as well, where if you can't come to the program, they can access some resources. Celebrating Persian New Year, we have some grab and go craft kits at both libraries as well. And this was the Lolly ad. So thank you, Freddie. Freddie worked really closely with the town crier to get this redesigned and in design for us to use as a template. And you'll see the bookmobile is highlighted along with the World Affairs program. So if you're interested, the bookmobile will be parked in that parking area where the Google Biblio is. We're going to block it off for the morning. It's like specifically during story time morning. So we anticipate a lot of families there. And it's a safe place. And just a couple things to touch on. We were invited to the Lava Eggplant this past weekend. We had visited with over 500 families. It was really popular, and we'll be at the Eggplant this weekend as well. Here on the soccer field, and we'll have our staff there to support and promote library services and have some fun activities. So that's all I have.
I was gonna ask just a question. When we say patron served online, those are unique users, right?
I believe so.
Right, because it's top 10,000. That's, I mean, for the first time since January of last year.
Yeah, it's funny, when we started opening up our buildings again, we saw a slight dip and we thought, oh boy, this is gonna do something, and then it just popped right back. So it's been pretty steady.
And do you, when it says patron served in person, do you compare the list to see, are these, you know, people that are just devoted to online, are they doing both? Or?
There's no way for us to track that really, yeah.
Okay.
Great question though.
Yeah, I was very interested in those numbers. It's interesting. Any questions or, yes?
One question you don't have to answer, Harker, is that Virginia?
I don't know. Yeah, we were contacted and I referred it to Heidi, so she took care of it. So I'm not sure actually. Yeah.
Is masking still required?
No, it's highly recommended from the county, but it's not required. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, because just to clarify, I understood that, for example, the Woodland Online, that those are patrons who first got their library card at Woodland, and that's how you identify them as Woodland Online.
So it's whenever they registered for a library card, whatever their address was at that time is considered their home library. So if they check out materials online, and we recognize that their card is attached to a Woodland address, then it would be, the checkout would be attributed to Woodland. Now, that per patron moves, of course, it kind of depends a little, so there's a little bit of a delay in that sense. It is, yes, yeah.
Okay, it's zip code oriented rather than, something else.
Yeah. Phone number, yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions?
One last thing,
Yes, sir.
great design, very clean.
Oh, I have to really say thank you on the public record to Mike Echeverra and Alina and to Kathy Lira. They did this and our other Lolly ad at no charge and did multiple revisions, which I was embarrassed each time I asked. And so thank you to them. It's much better, much better. And did you notice in the paper, it came out really clean. We were worried about newsprint, you know, came out really nice. So thank you.
The only thing is it says why it's important for the next pandemic. Kind of a sobering thought.
That's not our problem.
Like, oh, God.
That's Dr. Relman's title.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't that in the Washington Post or somewhere too? I feel like I've seen the title maybe published elsewhere.
Okay.
So maybe he was the,
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much, Mary Jo, city staff update.
All right, so, before I get into this, I just, as Rose mentioned, on Saturday is our egg hunt. It's, we haven't had a egg hunt in a few years. It's a crazy, wonderful thing if you want to see kids just run around and go nuts, and it's over really, really fast, but it's Saturday, and as she mentioned, over there on the soccer field, it's gonna be fun. We got some bunnies hopping around and taking pictures and all that kind of good stuff. And
real bunnies or costume bunnies?
no,
We have some bunnies that are
Yeah,
yard if you
there
want
are.
them.
yeah.
We've got a lot of bunnies in London.
A few of our staff in.
That's staffing bunny, okay.
We have two of them. Yeah. So, so that'll be fun this Saturday. I also just wanted to point out the document that was emailed to everybody and that I included in your packet, which is, about the Brown Act requirements for teleconferencing. The council, has determined that, the commissions can use either the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing or the AB 2449 conferencing. And this can be decided on a per meeting basis. So it can change. We don't have to decide one or the other and have that be how it is forever. There are a lot of different boxes you have to check on each of these. It's a little confusing, so I do recommend you read through this document. The real sticking points are with the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing. Anybody who is teleconferencing has to post at the location that they are teleconferencing from, and that location has to be open to the public. So that's sort of the real sticking point on that side.
The commissioners.
The commissioners, right, not the public. The public can always be here remotely, and always teleconference in, but for the commissioners, and there still has to be a quorum of commissioners from within the city, but they don't have to be in one location. On the other hand, on 2449, there has to be a quorum of commissioners in the same location. And there are limitations into the number of times that a commissioner can request teleconference. And you can see that in there. But the commissioner doesn't have to post from where they are, and doesn't have to, the place doesn't have to be open to the public. So there are pluses and minuses on both sides, and there may be reasons at various different meetings that we choose to go with one or the other, but we cannot mix and match the two sides. So I just wanted to point this out and make sure that everybody, so this is in the packet, so take a look at it and read through it. And if you have any questions now, I can try to answer them, or the mayor can try to answer them. If questions come to you later, feel free to email me for clarification on it. Anybody have any questions now?
I have a dumb question, and I think I know the answer, but
Okay.
the definition of 1 year, is that January through December, or is it really related to the term of the commissioner?
I think it would be January through December, because our terms, well, maybe it isn't, because our term starts in September.
Although it says you can only provide 2 just causes per calendar year.
I think
year.
it's calendar year
So
because
it is calendar.
the commissions are all different.
Yeah, so it must be the calendar.
Right.
Oh, it says calendar year, okay.
Down below it says calendar year.
A group answer.
If you go down to under requirements for teleconference.
Far enough?
No.
Oh, on the second, yeah.
There you go. It at the very bottom of the page, don't you move. Now it's done. Oh. Don't move, it's right on the target.
Right on the target.
Right on the target.
Oh, per
Per
calendar.
calendar year.
That's what that says.
Glasses up, down, down.
No worries, no worries. And then it says below that, not participate remotely for 3 consecutive months, 20% of meetings in a calendar year. But I'm not counting for council.
This wasn't council's doing. This is state law. This is state law.
So probably 82,449, it's calendar year, but you'd have to go back and look to see what the original Brown Act contemplates. Although it doesn't matter, the original one doesn't have any limitation for calendar year.
Well, I think what I'm saying is the text would probably define the applicable date.
I can ask further and make sure, because our year is different than the calendar year, the terms. So.
And it's true, council did not focus on whether it was a calendar year, fiscal year, a commission, or, term year or whatever. I suspect it'll be calendar, but that's not the bigger thing. But council could, so you're right that the traditional Brown Act did not put a limitation on it, but it also didn't imagine a Zoom environment in 3 years where we're used to remote. So council may, based on the policy discussion we had at the meeting, may provide similar restrictions as 2449, maybe, to the traditional, because the intent is not that we all sit there on video and dial in as public appointed or elected officials. So,
I see.
so that remains
decide
to be,
that.
so council would decide that.
Are you gonna do that April 11th?
I'm not sure.
April 11th has on the agenda, on the consent, the update to the commission handbook. And I don't think that will, I think that the handbook will simply allow, because right now in the handbook, there's no remote.
It forbids, actually.
It forbids. That's why we can't, at this, right now, no commissioners can be remote, because the handbook forbids it. That's getting updated, and that will be on consent on the 11th.
Right.
So I will say, I am an employment attorney who has worked with the Americans with Disabilities Act for quite a bit. I did send an email to the city's ADA coordinator to ask how commissioners can avail themselves of the protections of the federal Americans with Disabilities Act and obtain an accommodation if they have medical justification to attend remotely without regard to this, because state law cannot trump federal law. So we'll see. I would say 2 attorneys, 3 opinions. But we'll see what they say.
And the only other thing I was going to mention is, I know some of you are aware of the study session that council had about some changes to some of the commissions. They talked about a lot of things. They talked about a lot of different commissions. The library commission is definitely one that is up that they're discussing. There was a lot of opinions shared at the study session. So Anthony, the assistant to the city manager, did an interview with Julie and I, and they did that with all of the commissions. And the staff then went back to council with a bunch of information about what the commissions do, the makeup of the commissions, and all of that. Nothing has been decided. I'm here to tell you that with full honesty, absolutely nothing has been decided yet about what might happen to our commission, or well, there may have been a few decisions made, but not about our commission yet. Right now, staff is working on recommendations, and then that will likely go to council in May. I don't think it's going to make the second meeting in April. It's possible, but I kind of doubt it. I think it will go in May. So whatever happens won't happen probably before July, I would say. That's my estimate. Because if it happens in May, then it'll take time, and who knows what term or what start time will be put on it. But our meetings here will be the same, at least for the next few months. If you want to make comment about any of that, you can do that at make public comment at the council meetings, either on the 11th or the 24th, 28th, whatever the next one is. You're welcome to do that. And additional 25th, thank you. Additionally, Julie and Sally and Gabe are meeting on Monday, and to talk through not just this issue, but also other ideas that Julie has had about the commission and about how the commission can be more productive, and the various ways that we can bring all of the entities together, which is also what she's doing with what we're doing with the special meeting. So that's happening. And the most important thing to know right now is that really nothing has been decided. So there's no reason to be frightened at the moment of some sort of something bad happening, or yeah. So happy to take any questions. Yes.
I'm not frightened.
Oh, okay.
You know, I've been on this commission for 4 years. No one talked to me. No one solicited opinion. I sat through the COVID for 2 years. My name went on the Woodland shutdown. So I just feel disrespected. So take that back.
Your name went on that.
When Woodland went down, when we shut down Woodland, there was no city council member that went on in the town crier. It was me. It was my name on there. Okay, I didn't do it, but I put my name on there. I volunteered it. I care about that library commission. And for me to hear second and third hand from various members of the commission that the stuff's going on and not even getting, solicited, whatever. Okay, cool. I get it. You message sent. And it's not just me. The threat against the library commission, and Elaine will attest to it, had people crying in the Friends. I mean, literally, like, you're coming after the library. I mean, they didn't understand what's going on in the details, and I get that. But you got to be sensitive to that. It's just a bad message. It just is. So that's my input. And I'll show up at public comment. I should have been there then to hear this crap. But as a commissioner, I always went out of my way not to slag on any other commissions. Maybe not as a commissioner, I can show up to public comment and give people my opinion.
Well, I'm here to take your comment. I mean, I don't think, well, I mean, you know, you and I talk whenever,
I know.
yeah, so I wanted to be sure to, well, I try to be most of the meetings anyway, but I knew this was coming up, so I'm here to take whatever, but I didn't, I mean, there were some interesting opinions at that meeting. But it was a study session and no decisions have been made. And so why don't we talk constructively about what message do you want to bring to the next meeting? And what do you wish you could have said? Because I'm not quite sure how to interpret what you said about Woodland. How did that have anything to do with what we're talking about now? So I sense frustration. I'm not a psychologist, but I could read that body language. So, but please talk to me. I'm right here.
Well, I use Woodland as an example as to what, I mean, Julie's is chair, Freddie's been chair. When you're chair, you go up and you have responsibilities. And one of the big things was shutting down Woodland for COVID. That was, a huge thing people internalize that. Whether I'm elected or not, doesn't matter. I did 4 years. And I'm just saying, and the message back to just come back and say, maybe the commission, it's really sort of Parks and Rec. Okay. That's what I heard. Now, there's obviously more detail to it. It's just important that you hear from me my frustration. And just like, okay, whatever. Well, that's fine, but okay.
And just so that other people know, because I know we have people here from Los Altos Hills, and I do want to get feelings from other commissioners, is that there was it was a study session, so I don't know what to call it. Mayor Meadows, thank you so much, because she expressed a statement, I don't know what to call it, but to keep the commission as, to keep the commission, the library commission. And the other members of the council expressed some others. Well, I think all the other three.
All four others.
All of
All four others.
yeah.
Okay.
Expressed an interest in making and I don't know how this works, but basically taking what we do and making that a subcommittee of the Parks and Recs department. So I would, okay, so anytime I try to predict council, I'm wrong. So I'll caveat with this. I know that at least two expressed that, but I actually don't think that's the decision that makes sense that will come forward. Now, if it really, so a study session is very much actually just people like you just did. This could be a study session because they're expressing, it was interesting to me how some, a council member could say, I have no idea what library commission does. But on the other hand, there would be those who viewed my opinion on other commissions as being, really not appreciative or whatever. So what council was doing, let's go back up a higher level, council was trying to grapple with how do we help the commissions understand their roles better, roles and responsibilities as they've been defined in the municipal code. And also, how do we make sure that the commissions and staff work effectively together, and council and commission staff and all the interactions? Because it may not have sounded like it, and I can see why you felt that way, but the commissions are valued, and the council does value the commissions, even if any single council member is not that versed on what any single commission does. And there were those that I probably looked like I wasn't valuing, but being constructive about things that need to change in a commission doesn't mean you don't value it. You're just trying to make improvements. Now, I agree some of those comments, but they weren't directed. They weren't directed at you, Pierre.
I didn't listen to the tape. I just didn't even, I don't even know who said what. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, so the bottom line is, we kind of had a session that was really kind of like that, but longer. And council members got out there, and I must admit, I was a little surprised because, I just didn't think it was going to go that way in regards to many of the commissions and some of the discussions. But the ultimate goal is we got our impressions out.
recommendations will come forward. It likely does not make sense to put 3 commissions together. Public Arts, Parks and Rec, and Library. And Library has a very large ecosystem, some of whom are sitting here with friends. And so what's actually happening is when there's voids in structure, leadership, roles, and responsibilities, things rush in to fill the voids, right? So what we need as a library community is to actually have a structure that makes sense, where the commission fits with NCLA, fits with Friends, fits with the county library JPA. And there's really we all run around doing things that we have a passion for with the library, but it doesn't really fit up to a strategic package. Because we shouldn't have a council member saying, I don't know what the library commission does. Right?
Yeah.
So that's an opportunity. I know that sounds silly, but your passion, Pierre, all of our passions, let's pull it together. What message do you want the council to have for making the decision?
And let me piggyback on that, and I do again want to go around.
Yeah,
And I will come back to Pierre,
Mhm.
but let me go around first. But I do want to say that Gabe, we did reach out to Gabe, Freddie and I did. And so we have worked on providing an updated updated powers and duties, which frankly, I don't think is terribly different than what we have, but I think it's more specific. And I don't think it's anything that any of us would dislike. You know, I'm happy. Let's see what comes of it. I think it's a good opportunity for us to educate people. I'm also surprised that somebody, you know, would publicly disclose that they simply don't know, and then on that basis take a vote, or at least indicate a direction. But that's the opportunity for us to educate. And I will tell this commission that I went through every single agenda for the last 2 years, and I pulled together a list of all of our accomplishments, because we have done a lot. Nisa did, even though she was one of those who said she was interested in bringing this under the jurisdiction of the Public Arts or the Park and Rec, did acknowledge that we did Open Plus, we did that, that we did, we did one other thing. I mean, there was acknowledgement that we've done a lot. So it's an opportunity for us to educate people. And one of my thoughts is, as I send out the invitation for this upcoming meeting, that is one of the things I think I could roll in. So I was going to take that action, and I will show up on Tuesday to invite the council to our special meeting so that they can, you know, participate in that roundtable discussion about the future of the library. So let me go around, Freddie.
Yes, so I did attend the study session remotely, and I have listened to it a number of times to make sure that I actually heard what I thought I heard. And I did hear what I thought I heard. So, comment about Jonathan Weinberg's statement that he actually just asked a question. What does the Library Commission do? I have no idea. And his, I'm going to call it an excuse for having no knowledge, of being completely ignorant of what the Library Commission does, is because he owns property next to the Woodland Library, and he is concerned about having a conflict of interest. So the fact that he is a lawyer and doesn't understand that the conflict of interest laws do not require that you maintain ignorance of a commission. It just requires that on something that, you know, your property is next to, that you do not sit in on the discussion of that, any particular specific item on the agenda, and you don't vote. And the only thing I would ask, Sally, is if you could perhaps ask the city attorney to make it clear that the conflict of interest laws don't require you to remain ignorant, okay? And I was so surprised because Jonathan has in the past, when he moved, I went up to him at an event and said, "Oh, Jonathan, I was so happy to hear that you moved, because I know you're a big library supporter, and maybe now you can vote on some of the issues that may come across the council's agendas on the Woodland Library. And so that was very, that was just, I was quite surprised. Let me just leave it at that. But as you will see tonight, we are going to really try to do our best to educate the staff and the council as to what the Library Commission does do. And it is I'm not going to say so different than other commissions, but it really does have a very specific and a very defined jurisdiction over all library related issues. And for it to be a subcommittee of another very busy commission, especially since, as I understand it, subcommittees are going to be extraordinarily limited in their ability to exist, it just seems to me that we would not be able to do the work that we do. And I would really hope that once the council understands what we do and that we are working for the benefit of one of the community's greatest assets, that they will allow us to continue to exist and do our work. And with, if there needs to be more fleshing out of the powers and duties, we have worked on that. We will work with you to make that happen.
And all the commissions, that's really the crux of it, I think, is if those aren't concrete for whatever commissions, then that's how it kind of gets confused. And I must admit, I was surprised, and I probably I did bring up Open Plus, but the name wouldn't come to me. And so, I mean, I actually, well, plus it wasn't meant to be a let's each defend our commissions meeting. It was meant to be, let's talk about all the commissions objectively, and it really wasn't that. So anyway, well, why don't you continue to go around the room? So
Yeah, Carol?
Well, I didn't go to the study meeting. I only heard about it from Freddie, who was very agitated about it when she told me, and therefore I was very agitated about it. And I agree with what Pierre mentioned, that it was very disrespectful of people who are actually volunteering their time and are interested in the community enough to do that. But on the positive side, there's two subcommittees that I'm associated with have put together a list of accomplishments and efforts. Not everything is successful, but a lot of effort, and that will be, you'll see that tonight. And so that is a positive outcome of this angst that the council has dished out for us, because we were probably overdue making a list so that we could justify our existence.
Well, as a resident of Los Altos Hills, I just barely heard about this a couple of days ago through friends. I didn't know anything about it. I want to know where it leaves Los Altos Hills representation.
well, no, there's still any commission that's having.
Los Altos Committee.
Well, that decision has not been made. And
Well, we wouldn't be.
no,
I don't live, we're not in Los Altos. Don't you have to be a resident of Los Altos to belong to a Los Altos Commission?
There's no decision been made about the commission not being a joint commission anymore. They're not even, I haven't even heard that as a suggestion.
It's not a joint commission, so how do you have a subcommittee that's a joint
but
commission?
that decision's not been made.
Yeah, that decision has also not been made, and it's only.
Parks and Rec Commission.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is that particular suggestion was just one of a whole bunch of ideas that are being floated that frankly, I think is unlikely to happen. So we shouldn't get caught up on the idea that we become a subcommittee of the Parks and Recreation Committee, because I I can never say, I never know what's gonna happen, but I doubt that. So that is not, that piece, I don't think, and I haven't heard any suggestions of it no longer being a joint commission or any of the other joint commissions. We have several joint commissions. Well, the senior commission is a joint commission.
The volunteers committee.
Right, and the volunteers committee is joint. And there, to my knowledge, there hasn't been any even discussion of that changing.
Anything else, Christine?
Well, on a different topic, the subcommittee listing is wrong. I'm actually on the services.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna bring that up. I have that notice that you're down there. She likes it. Our committee. Nelvin.
Yeah, two things kind of struck me. One is the fact that we've had a crazy last 3 years, right? So it's not surprising that some of the new council members have no idea what the library commission does. And so that brings up the point of how do these new council members get oriented on the function of each committee or each commission? Is that something that's on us to essentially reach out, or is it actually part of their orientation?
To say there's an orientation would be a generous description, but each commission interfaces with council once a year through various presentations. We're able to watch, so I watch more commissions than I just sit on. So you're able to watch any commissions and then the commission interviews as well. So I don't think any of the council members were, even though they may have said, I don't know what they do, I didn't take that literally because I know that's not true. But they may not know the work plan, and so I mean, maybe that's a discussion after roles and responsibilities are firmed up to say, okay, how do we, because all right, this is just my opinion now that I'm gonna say next. The work plan discussions, so you could get it in that annual meeting, here's our work plan, but it's really hard to sort of get into the discussions. There's gotta be a better way to convey, just the word work plan is boring and dull. So, when we figure out roles and responsibilities, then let's think of what does the report back look like? And really it needs to come, one of the things we haven't been doing, but this is all on council. I'm sorry, and I understand why, but I'm sorry. It feels like it's directed at the commissions, because really council hasn't firmed up roles and responsibilities. And what really has been missing is everything we do should be driven from the budget. So the priorities, council priorities and the budget assignments, and then the commission say, okay, here's this line item, dollars, that's our commission, let's take it and run. And that linkage hasn't been made. And so I think that's part of the underlying problem here. And it's not the commission's fault. Council has not, we haven't made that linkage. And this is a painful process to get us there. But in the end, I think it will make a lot more sense. So I'm sorry for the frustration. I understand it. But I don't think that despite whatever you heard, I don't think that any council member would say, I don't value this commission. No council member would say they don't value the commission. We're struggling with how to make this work better. So that was a very long answer to your simpler question. So I'm sorry, I kind of went off on that.
I do have a second point, but it still seems kind of trivial.
No, go ahead.
Through the way the commissions can essentially work, they would consider also to inner cities. I would be surprised if we find very many cities that do not have something comparable to our commission.
Well, yes, and so actually we've looked at that. And many of the cities are actually going through the same process now. So, and Los Altos had more commissions, more commissioners, more meetings than other cities. So that there is, it was in one of the packets. I think it was in the study session.
Yeah, it was in the study session packet.
And also the retreat packet.
They did that research with comparable cities around us and found that we have, like Mayor just said, we have more commissions, more commissioners, so more commissioners per commission, and more meetings than any, not, I don't know if it's any, but than many of the other comparable cities. And one of the considerations, and I think I talked about this a little bit at a meeting, maybe not our last one, but the one before, was just the staff resources of managing all of the commissions has grown and keeps growing. And now that we're doing hybrid, it's growing even more. Because even when, I mean, if you were on the commission when Jamie was the liaison, she pretty much did it on her own. But with hybrid, it's pretty hard. Somebody has to be paying attention here. Someone has to be paying attention. She's got 2 computers going on, you know. So I believe that they were looking at that as well. How can we manage all of that and have the best structure? And also that they did look at those comparative cities, and you can find that in the study session packet.
And in other cities, I know Cupertino, I think Palo Alto, I know Los Altos Hills, they're all going through a similar process because I guess none of the cities have done a good job defining roles and responsibilities, and so we're trying to figure out how to do it best. Obviously, we're not doing it very well, but.
Well, it was interesting to me that, in looking at this, again, I put together everything we've done. I also began thinking about the commission and the type of people that are attracted to a commission, right? It's wonderful. It's a great opportunity for citizens to provide a level of expertise. And Nelvin, I looked you up and I'm like, what does Nelvin do? And I mean, economic development is kind of your thing. I mean, it was, huh? Business development. I mean, I was so impressed by what I saw. Pierre, you're a published author, and just learning more. I didn't have a chance to go through everybody, but I was really impressed with the quality and caliber of people. And I think we're the type of people who embrace that wonderful quote that heaven must be like a library, because you know, don't tell the Parks and Recs, but if I have a choice between a park and being in a library, I'm going to be in a library. So that's where my passion is and my heart is. So anyway, I think it is an opportunity, and I've taken a learning from this about, yeah, whenever somebody new comes onto the council, we need to meet with them and we need to say, look at everything we've done. I mean, Open Plus, I have to tell you, this commission did it. I did it. I spent a lot of time, right, educating myself, calling everybody across the country to find out who would come and talk to us about Open Plus, arranging those meetings. You all attended those meetings, asked wonderful, far better questions than I ever could. But there was so much, and I did it because I thought, what a great thing. And I see what libraries can be and do. And so that's the kind of passion that I think I would like to convey to the city council, that you know, people are passionate about the things they're passionate about, and that's a great thing. I want to give opportunity for people online to comment. Cindy, you don't have to, Lisa. Anybody? Any comment? Elaine?
Sorry, I couldn't find my sound. No, I'm staying away from controversy these days. I'm getting ready to retire. I'll just say one thing. In my mind, the commission, at least the library commission, is the city council's eyes and ears into the library. You know, the city council can't be everywhere, but all they have to do is talk to the library commissioners and they can find out what's going on. And I don't think they appreciate that role as much as they should. And I say that as both, you know, a former council member and a former library commissioner. It's, you can't be everywhere. I have a little plaque at home. It says, God couldn't be everywhere, so he created Mother. and this, to me, it's the same thing. City council members can't be everywhere, so they have commissions who tell them what's going on in the various parts of town. And I think that's the most valuable thing that the commissions do.
Cindy, yes, Cindy.
Hello. So it's been really informative for me to listen to everybody speak because I like Freddie was at the meeting virtually, and I was so glad I was sitting down because I was just surprised at the lack of information that many of the council members had, or maybe they were tired. I don't know whatever their thinking was, but it did not come off very positively towards many of the commissions and the volunteerism that happens and needs to happen within our city. And one point I'd like to make, which one of the reasons I see for keeping the Library Commission separate and active is that our libraries are very different than any other function in the city because the library's space and land and buildings are owned by the city of Los Altos. The services are contracted to the Santa Clara County Library District, and they provide all of the internal functions and staff and resources. And our libraries serve 2 cities. So it's a complex organization already. And as Elaine was saying, the Library Commission is the voice of advice and advisory to both of those cities and to the other groups that surround the library. So it's a complex organization to begin with, and to consider merging it with another group. Frankly, I could see the Library Commission overtaking the Parks and Recreation because of our complexity, but I don't think that that's necessary. I think that there is ground to stand on that demonstrates what we've been doing. And it's also very typical of library groups to quietly go about doing our jobs and then being surprised when people don't know what we've been doing because we're not extremely great at marketing and presenting ourselves. And so now we have this opportunity to inform people because it's top of mind for them. And so we can make ourselves highly visible.
Thank you. Lisa, did you want to say anything? No. I'll come back to Pierre.
I just want to piggyback on what Cindy said about the library. You know, when I was running the Library Commission, we've always been a subset of Parks and Recs. I mean, the staff has always come from, Jamie came from Parks and Recs. And I mean, it's just the way things work, which is fine. But a lot of things we do, what Cindy says is very true. The Library Commission really deserves to be uplifted. And I know there may be more expense in that, but given the complexity of the job and all the areas, that's an idea we should hold on to.
Could I say one more?
Yeah.
And when we talk about expense, the Library Commission doesn't have a budget. We have spent 0 city dollars, 0. We do consume city staff time, but we do hope that some of the comments that I heard at that study session, I hope that we are not guilty of using up too much of your time or telling you what to do or any of that. I think we are very respectful of you and your time and try to use as little as possible just to get the job done. And if that's not the case, please let us know.
They wouldn't have given me the library commission if it was a difficult one.
Now I want to know why.
Scope of commissions. You guys are great.
Is that because of us or you? I want to know where that comes.
I'm trying to say that, I'm trying to tell you all and tell Freddie that this commission is not a difficult one to manage.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we're not an offender. And we're not we have no budget. So, hopefully those two things will also be good marks on our record.
So I just want to say, so I didn't, go through an itemized list, but I did say, and I think I used the word milieu, that the library, I mean, I don't see how the library commission can't stand on its own because it is part of a very complex system. And I did verbalize that during the meeting, even if I had to resort to one French word. But yeah, so I mean that there's no other between NCLA and the county and the building and the services and the JPA and the nonprofit supports. There is no equivalent. So I don't see how, but anyway, let's not belabor that.
Thank you. All right, so I just feel it's important for everybody to have a chance to speak. I mean, I too, I first heard it, was pretty disappointed.
Did you speak or you're speaking now? Because you haven't done your best.
Oh, I think I've been speaking throughout, but I just wanted to say, I thought that's why I wanted to entertain this because, yeah, I think we were all disappointed at first because we took it very personally. And so now we're, dusting ourselves off and we're about to, explain why we think, this is an important place to be. So with that, maybe we can move to the subcommittee reports because I think we do have things to share.
We do. Casey, would you please put up the awareness PowerPoint?
And we do need to move Commissioner Fawcett down.
We'll correct that in the minutes.
Yeah.
And so do you want me to, I mean, I can let you guys do that. You don't need me for this unless you want me to hear it. But
We would
you
like
want,
you to-
okay, all right.
This is our,
I am borrowing a laptop, so I wanted to.
If you hear weird noises, it's my stomach. No.
No, at the top. Oh,
okay, so, oops, if you could go back up.
Yes.
Okay, so this is just a review of the awareness subcommittee projects from 2021 to present. We did research for the library to identify public service announcement opportunities, media outlets. And we identified 6: KMBT TV, KFJC Radio, Mid-Peninsula Post, Stanford University Faculty and Employee Monthly Online Newsletter, the Foothill College Weekly Staff Online Newsletter, and the Kiwanis. Your library has utilized these opportunities when they feel it's appropriate. Next slide, please.
Lisa, do you have a question right now? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Sorry, is it possible to share the slides or is that a technical limitation? I can imagine what's on them.
It's in the packet. If
no, it's not.
Oh, it's not.
No, this one isn't in the packet.
Can you share? I don't.
If you can give me your flash drive again, I can put it on the other.
Sure.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's a lot of work. I'll just imagine.
It'll take 2 seconds. But if Freddie can bring that to me, I'll share it on the recording screen. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Carol also worked on, Carol did a lot of the PSA, I think all of the PSA work. She also contacted the senior assisted living retirement communities in Los Altos to determine whether or not they would be interested in the library's resources, programs, and events. And in fact, 2 in-person presentations at least, I don't know if you've done more, have were made at these facilities by a Los Altos librarian as a result of these efforts. And this is something they are very interested in getting this information from the library. Next slide, please, Casey.
Is that one class? Okay. Oh, I'm gonna do it on 2 screens. There, yep, it's okay.
So, also during the pandemic, Virginia came up with this great idea in the awareness committee, subcommittee to post the resources that are with, some of the highlighted resources, which Bryant actually just picked out, and they were posted in the waiting line. So people would have to wait, and it was really a great, because you could do it at the 6-foot intervals. And he was able to change these out and post them. So this was something that helped people stay occupied, amused, helped with patience in the waiting line during the pandemic. Next slide, please. Sharbury came up with this idea to do a diverse cultural festival calendar. And she created a calendar of worldwide cultural festivals that are non-religious or that have become sectarian, and highlighted 1 or 2 of them every month so that the library could, if they have the staff in the facilities or the space, they could highlight a festival. And she helped with the Diwali festival by pulling books and media and assisting the staff to set this up. And she wrote an article about the library Diwali display that was published in the Town Crier, and that's the photo that was in the Town Crier to publicize that. Next slide, please. So the awareness committee came up with an idea of trying to help publicize and raise the awareness of resources that the library has. And Lolly agreed to pay for these ads. And so once a month, our committee creates these ads. We work with Rose and get her suggestions for what would be a good resource. Sometimes it has to do with something that's going on at the library at the same time. But we come up with the ads, and Lolly pays for them to be published in the Town Crier once a month. And these are all the ads that we created for 2021. So you can go to the next slide. And this is just an example of one of the ads. This was story time with Miss Jean. Yeah. And so the next, we also wrote an ad for the town, an article for the Town Crier. We're trying to recruit a Los Altos Hills commissioner. And I worked with Mary Jo, and she contacted the Los Altos Hills person, Deborah Padovan, to make sure that the copy was approved by them and that we had the right contact person. Next slide. This was the 2022 ads that we created for the library to show the various resources that the library has. And these again are published every month in the Town Crier. Go to the next slide, please. This is a copy of one of the ads for 2022, Code Combat. It was during the summer, and the kids were able to come in and learn how to do coding, but it was fun. It's the game. Next slide. This is what we've done so far in 2023. And interesting, the Morningstar Financial Resources was last month, scamming, and Rose just finished the Ancestry Library ad that will go into next week's Town Crier. So you'll see the first ad with the new Lolly branding in next week's Town Crier. So it will look very similar to the one that you did see, which is the other Lolly ad. We do 2 Lolly pays for 2 ads every month. And that's it for well, here's open access. This was one we did when open access was available at the Woodland Library. That was one of our ads. I think that was our February ad. So thank you. Any questions? Okay,
I hate doing this, but 2 typos came out of me.
thank you. Why don't you?
And I can get it, I'll get you the,
That'll be
it's search on Biblio.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if you kept those ads, or there's certainly you can
Yes.
pull them, okay, because you know, the table's good, it's one slide, but also if you flash through each of the, I mean, that's a lot of ads.
It's a lot of ads.
You know, and so you can show, I mean, you can, whether you put them, I mean, you could do a great visual with all those ads. You could have, here's 2021 and there's all the 12 ads. And then
That's not a
there's
great
2022.
idea. Okay, yeah.
You know, pictures always,
Yes, pictures sell things.
pictures,
Yeah.
they're just easier to, present. You don't have to-
I do have all the ads. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Infrastructure. Pardon me?
You need it on the flash drive?
If you want to show it.
Oh, no.
Was in the packet.
Was it in the packet?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were gonna bring it. Okay. Oh, good, good, good.
It's kind of hard to find a flash drive in my house.
I understand. So what am I, oh, my mouse.
The presentation. Yeah, no, it's just, I mean, for everybody, right? It's a lot of work.
Ancestry's fun. I'm a big ancestor.
Oh my God, sister-in-law is like, I don't care who I'm with. All my
It's a
relatives.
black hole.
It's so much fun.
It's a black hole.
If I share this.
I don't want to see their felony rap sheet.
So if I share the screen, it's not gonna be up on this piece for you to all see, but it will be here. So I just, because I didn't copy it onto both computers.
They can do.
Okay.
So we're highlighting 3 particular projects for the infrastructure subcommittee. And each of these projects actually has several branches. So for example, Woodland, when
Yeah, speak louder.
For Carol.
Oh.
Yeah.
So when Freddie visited Woodland for the first time, people were coming up to her explaining that noise was a big issue, that it was distracting for the adults to have children essentially making lots of noise, going in and out. So what we did was we visited other libraries in the county district to really understand what they did to try to expand their facilities. We've also made contact with the local school where the students were coming from to really try to understand what they needed. And then that branched into a few things. One was a quiet room. The other one was a partition, a simple project around a noisy patio door. And finally, we decided to focus on creating a better outdoor space. This would essentially do several things, one of which was additional room for programs, space for tutoring, for socializing, so the kids could be out there. And then finally, it would be a wonderful addition to the library in total, because now you can essentially offer certain programs that are outdoors only that we can't do right now at Woodland. So the proposal was approved by the commission to be submitted to the city council. We're getting funding from Lolly for initial feasibility study. Yep.
That comes up for a vote on the 11th.
And if you turn to the next page, we have a graphic as to what that could possibly look like.
I think I can get this out of the way.
All right. For each of the slides where we have a lot of words, there are hyperlinks to when those presentations were made to the commission. So you'll see that on the previous page, there were like 3 hyperlinks, but let's go on to the next one, and that was really focused on parking. Parking is a common complaint that we heard from folks. It comes up in surveys of library patrons. So we did a few things. One was to validate that parking really was an issue. And we did that by looking at the number of parking spots that we had at Civic Center versus other cities and libraries. We also looked at doing a time study of parking. So for a few days, I would actually visit the library, I think every 2 hours, to see how many available spots there were. And then I visited other libraries to see how many spots they had available. But we assumed that adding additional space was not feasible. So then the question became, do we look at time limits, parking permits, and what have you? And finally, we recommended the time limits be instituted for the Civic Center during the COVID shutdown to minimize the impact on a fewer number of people. We presented our findings to the city manager, and his staff reviewed it, and we finally instituted time limits on the few spaces that are nearest the library. Next page has a picture of, basically the areas we looked into for parking, and then finally the few spots in front of the library that have a 2-hour time limit.
Well, it seems that there are time limits on the slide too, so I'm trying to,
This is a new one. This is
Okay.
another project.
Okay.
And that is, another thing that comes out in our library surveys is that there's a lack of meeting space. There's none at Woodland. There's one large community room, the Orchard Room at the main branch, and that can only accommodates 100 people. So we observed that at least one other library in the district has a movable partition wall. And we then drilled down to really understand how they use it, whether they find it to be useful, et cetera. And the answer came back very positive. So at that point, we identified some vendors of partition walls in the Bay Area, got some initial estimates and timeframes for putting something like that in. We then looked very closely at the 2019 Orchard Room calendar to see if we actually had a partition wall, could it be used to expand the number of groups that would be able to use the Orchard Room? And the answer came back yes, but on the other hand, there were other competing proposals. We would have to shut down the Orchard Room during the renovation, and this was just as as we were recovering from COVID. So the recommendation was actually not to pursue it, that there was another project to add space for indoor space, and that probably has better benefit for the community. Next page has a picture of the Morgan Hill partition wall. You can, on the left, it's open, on the right, it's closed. And theirs is like a 60-40 split, and they found it that they're using that partition wall at least twice a week. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? All right, if not, we'll move on to the futures. And I think the futures was attached to, okay, that one. It's also attached to the services on our agenda. So I don't know if you can pull that up.
I can.
Give me just a second. It was just under services.
Oh, it's in the wrong place.
Yeah, that's my picture. No, you can below that one. Below that one. Down. No.
The other way. Okay.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, so we just touched this. This is something that Melvin, you did a lot of work on. I think we all put something together. Would you care to walk us through it real quick?
I always tell Pierre, this is kind of a no-brainer of a document. Basically, we had taken a close look at not only what we're trying to achieve for the library, but also what the needs of the community are. There was a 2018 needs assessment, and what we did was basically validate that that was still operable and valid, given changes in the Los Altos community. So if you scroll, I'll go very quickly. I did a benchmark. I did a profile of the library, next page. Looked at how we are relative to other libraries in a district. And where you see in red are the ones that are are disadvantaged, and then green is advantage. So for example, Cupertino has the largest library, but Los Altos has the oldest library. 1990 was the last time we made a major work on it. Looked at it in terms of circulation, gate counts, etc. The truth of the matter is that we are essentially probably number 2 relative to Cupertino in terms of circulation, gate counts, etc. So the library is a highly valued and used resource for the community. Next page. Talked about the needs assessment. At that point, they were talking $40–60 million to redevelop the main library. NCLA did a lot of heavy lifting to prepare the community for potentially a bond measure. Ultimately, that was put on the shelf because of events at that time. Next page. Their polling identified some key needs, and I think some of the themes in our other projects, additional space, whether it's for tutoring or meeting, children's programs, story time, etc. Next page. And then you'll see it, meeting space, next page. Yeah, meeting space. Find a set of questions that probably have to be answered to try to develop a cohesive vision and strategy. Basically around what our needs are, what is needed if we have higher density housing. I live not too far away from Distal Drive, where the Peninsula Open Trust building used to be, or at some point it'll get torn down and it'll become low-income housing. Those kids are going to need things, whether it's study space, whether it's park, right across, or what have you. But the needs of the community will change, and those needs are in addition to what is currently in place. I also posed the question of what do we do about woodland? I think once you have that footprint, you keep it and maybe expand it. But we're the only community within the Santa Clara County District that has 2 branches. Okay, next page. So we recommended that this was meant for NCLA, that NCLA reconstitute the redevelopment task force to kind of look through all these needs and figure out what's the right thing to do, and that we would support them as best as we can. Okay, that's it.
Any questions or comments?
I'll just say this is the best slide on the library that I've seen in my time on the commission. It's all encompassing. It has history. It has, I think Jonathan in the NCLA meeting brought up ideation. It shows that ideation was used as a tool for, not Jonathan, Pete Daly brought it up, that let's use ideation. Well, we've spent a lot of money on that type of activities, and this presentation is really the distillation of that, as far as I can see. It's just excellent work. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, so then services subcommittee. So this is something that we actually, so you should be able to click on it. Yeah, it's an attachment under services. That's okay. The first one, go up to the top.
They were misordered.
Okay. So this is something that we actually wanted to get done as a committee, a subcommittee, so that we could submit it to the NCLA meeting. If you look at the 3rd paragraph, sort of summarizes that the publication of the strategic plan by the library provides us with several important options for consideration. We discuss these below. And essentially what we're saying is that the opinion from the attorney for the NCLA, we think and it is, if you read it, it's narrow to the question that was presented. And so what we would like them, what we requested of NCLA is to get an opinion that looks at more opportunities, other ways of spending the money. And the ways that we proposed are all aligned to the library's strategic plan. So if you scroll down, I won't, go into too much detail with these, but the first one, create enchanting and interactive children's spaces to instill a joy of learning. So it talks about public safety. I didn't really understand this, but as I understand, there is a concern with regard to the placement of our bathrooms at the library, because it is not necessarily something that staff and people can see, not visible. We talked about somebody stealing the muffins. I'm sorry, Lisa, did you have a comment? Is it being shared?
Sorry, I
So it's
think,
in the
yeah, this is the packet that's titled North County, NCLA City, Los Altos, blah, blah, blah. Is that correct? Okay, great. Thanks.
We're on page 46, Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was, talking about that concern, but also just talking about the fact that we have 3,000 more people in our community since we've had the vote for the funds. And if you scroll down, I do like pictures. I think Sally mentioned that. So creative reading spaces, a children's garden, which by the way is Cupertino or somewhere near there, aquarium is Cupertino, early learning spaces, and then you compare it to ours, which, we do a good job, but, I think that we could do better. So also talking about the growth in our teen population, we need adequate study space. I go in and there are people, there are tutors out in the open tutoring children. I understand, but if you scroll down, adequate study spaces for people to be able to get tutoring, that sort of thing. And so you can see there's a paragraph there that just talks about why we think that there's an opportunity, again, to reconsider the use of the funds. We talk next about use of innovative services models to connect community members. We talk about the number of people in our community that speak a language other than English, the wonderful programs at the Cupertino Library and Gilroy Library that really focus on, other languages, and how we would like to have some of that come to us in the form of materials and books and opportunities. And then we provide two other examples. Again, I know time is moving, so if you scroll down, we talk about spark discovery with new technology. One of the things I am currently researching is that in Washington State, the state library is actually providing money to local libraries for, I'm going to forget the name of it, for virtual reality. And it's wonderful because children can do things. And this is the thing about a library, is that so many people see a library as a place where you explore technology of the future. It's also a place where somebody with limited mobility can come, put on Advisor, and they can actually be in a library in a different country and just do some wonderful things. So I'm really excited about that. You need space. You need space. And lastly is design and implement flexible public spaces that encourage library visits and elevate patron experiences. And so we provide some examples about that. So the conclusion and our request, again, was to get another opinion, which discussed other options or potential uses for the money. So anything else from the fellow subcommittee members?
I'd like to show a website really quickly of materials I put up. Could you go to HTTPS?
Can you?
Yeah, I'll come back.
1 second. HTTPS. Yep.
Library.bedard.com. Hopefully something safe will come up. Oh, you do.
While you do that, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I didn't see you there.
Where are the slashes?
I love your use of that, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Lisa.
No period? Just //
://
HTTPS://
There.
Okay.
You could show that.
Did you want to ask your question, Lisa?
Okay, yeah, if that's okay. So the first 2-3 reports you gave were had been presented before, but this most recent report that you just gave, Julie, that's new?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
That is being presented to the commission for the first time tonight.
Okay, great, thank you.
So very quickly, I put up, I actually studied WordPress at De Anza, and I know some of you have seen this website before. I've actually updated it, secured it, made it better. It's got a bunch of resources on it. If you go up to the main menu up top, just go to Futures. So under the Futures, I've got the library. I did a paper on library naming rights way back when I put up. We've got the path forward for Los Altos Library. We've got the original Woodland self-service proposal. So all these things are just the public documents that were shared, and I populate them as they come up by committee. That's all I wanted to share. So if somebody ever wanted to get to a presentation, it's there, or they could send a link.
All right, anything else? Anything else on that?
Hold on. Spring pollen.
All right, well, thank you so much for your agenda review report. Really appreciate it. The last thing here is the request for future agenda items. Go ahead. Something down there about the Brown Act thing, because it said per meeting, so I guess we have to figure out how we invoke that, or how do we do that prior to a meeting? I guess it doesn't need to be an agenda item, we just need a how-to.
Right.
Without violating the Brown Act by everybody talking.
Right, so go through me. So what I've been thinking is that I will put out a email, I'll send out an email closer to the meeting to find out if anybody needs an accommodation or is planning to be virtual.
Mm-hmm.
And based on that, we can figure out which side of the sheet that we'll be following.
Okay.
It just occurred to me now, and I'll try to clarify this. That even though we can't mix and match, if we ever use the AB 2449, it restricts the number of times that there can be that any particular commissioner can be remote.
You're gonna need a process. Maybe you could put to the process.
I'm gonna have to keep track and all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And could you just check, what concerns me is the word elects. Okay, it says each, the commission has to elect to,
I will get there. Just give me just a moment.
Yeah, I know.
I want to know, do we need to have like a formal vote that says this commission elects to use teleconferencing?
I think can we agendize it for a process?
Yeah.
Just because maybe it's somebody who says, Mary Jo, I'm invoking my right, and then you publicize, but you're gonna have to give us notice because we're gonna.
Yes.
Yeah, or could we do we have one vote that says, yes, this commission for now and forever elects to use teleconferencing when somebody needs to? Or every time?
My understanding is that we don't have to, in perpetuity, choose one. But
No, I understand
Oh,
that.
okay.
But I'm just saying, we could also say, this commission is never, ever gonna use teleconferencing, which is essentially what, until the handbook is changed, those were the terms under which we were living anyway.
currently,
So I just need clarification. What does that mean? Do we vote, the commission elects to use teleconferencing whenever somebody needs to use it? Or does that mean each time the commission has to elect, and does that mean we all have to vote?
My understanding was that it meant that each time,
Each time.
but I will get more clarification now that there's been more questions. I will talk to the city clerk and get a little bit more clarification about that and about the process. And so we can agendize it and hopefully I'll have some answers by the next meeting.
Because I think all the commissions are gonna be having questions as, you know, as the changes, okay, you can do the same thing council does. But what does that really mean? I mean, council doesn't even really know. Cause 2449 is new.
Yeah.
And the other one is traditional, but not been used in the post Zoom 3-year virtual environment. So we'll figure it out as we go along, I guess.
Great, thank you very much, that'd be great.
Well, and that's outside of that. The ADA always trumps. I would assume it always trumps.
Oh, yeah,
This,
yeah, it's federal law.
yeah.
It's just how, what is the nature of reasonable accommodation, what's reasonable in light of all this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is. Any other agenda items?
Yes, I mean, just self-evidently, we should discuss the results of the 20th meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, oh,
Probably, yeah, there's secret.
I'm sorry, Pierre, what was that?
Just a recap of the meeting on the 20th, action items, and whatever we need.
okay. Okay. I agree, we all agree. You're supposed to technically have 3 people, but I think we all agree. Anything else? Anybody? Okay, we do have an informational item at the end, and so that's the Los Altos City Council strategic goals. I don't think they intend it's an informational item, so.
Yeah, it's just there for your information.
Yeah.
Because they recently,
5 or 6 of them, right?
right, they,
Or 4 or 5. It was 5 to 6, right? I don't know.
All of them, but you have to.
We haven't fleshed out the last, yeah.
one of them, and that's all in the, in that document. So because there's a few changes there, so I wanted to make sure you all have them. So it's in.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Any last words?
But should it be agendized for a discussion in terms of, where we review the goals and
Oh.
discuss it?
I would be open to that. I think that's good. In light of our plan, in light of our work plan. Yeah.
Do we have 3?
We have 3.
Oh, do we have 3?
Okay.
Oh,
Yep,
Okay.
okay.
I just want to say I saw Christine's informative posting on Nextdoor, and that was really good.
Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Our newest
The
commission.
sites, and there's the links.
Yeah.
No, it was great.
That's great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That brings up, the article you had in the Mountain View Voice
Yeah.
on Open Plus. I got a notice from Nextdoor telling me that it had shipped 356 times. Like it got like tremendous play. It was weird because I've never gotten that out of
I
Nextdoor.
actually got contacted by a library director from another library system inquiring about similar to what Julie did. It was another state, I can't remember.
Oh, hi, wrong. We need a clearinghouse. It's like, hi, who are you? What do you do? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. 8:29 will adjourn.
Thank you very much.
I didn't do
Good. There you go.
I didn't do my thing
Thank
open.
you.
By the way, the name tag should go so that, not that you see that you are, but that everyone else can see who you are.